Ever wondered how a tiny spark in a bakery could burn down one of the world's greatest cities? Let's travel back to 1666 to the heart of London and uncover the story of the Great Fire. It all began in the early hours of Sunday, September 2nd, in a small bakery on Pudding Lane owned by Thomas Farriner. He was the baker to King Charles II. That night, he forgot to fully extinguish the embers in his oven. A tiny spark ignited some nearby firewood, and soon, his whole house was ablaze. Now, you might think, why didn't they just put it out? Well, London in the 17th century was a tinderbox waiting for a match. The houses were mostly made of wood and pitch, built incredibly close together. The streets were narrow and winding, perfect for a fire to leap from one roof to another. Plus, it had been a long, hot, dry summer, making everything extra flammable. The wind that night was strong, fanning the flames and pushing them westward. The fire alarm was raised, but the Lord Mayor of London, Sir Thomas Bloodworth, was famously unimpressed. When he was woken up, he reportedly said something like, "Pish, a woman might piss it out," and went back to bed. A massive mistake. By the time he realized the seriousness of the situation, it was far too late. The standard firefighting method back then was to use buckets of water passed along a human chain and to pull down houses with firehooks to create fire breaks. But the fire was moving too fast. People were in a panic, trying to save their belongings, clogging the streets and making it impossible for firefighters to get through. The River Thames was a chaotic scene of boats overloaded with people and their possessions. For 4 long days and nights, the fire raged. It was a terrifying spectacle. The sky glowed red, visible from miles away. The lead roof of St. Paul's Cathedral melted and streamed down the streets like a river of molten metal. The stones of the cathedral itself exploded from the intense heat. People were desperate, watching their homes and livelihoods go up in smoke. The famous diarist Samuel Pepys wrote about the chaos, burying his precious wine and Parmesan cheese in his garden to save them. So how did it finally end? 2 things helped. First, the strong easterly wind finally died down. Second, the authorities, with the king's approval, started using gunpowder to create massive, effective fire breaks by blowing up entire blocks of houses. This was a drastic measure, but it worked. It starved the fire of fuel. By Thursday, September 6th, the fire was largely under control. The aftermath was staggering. The fire had destroyed over 13,000 houses, 87 churches, and iconic buildings like St. Paul's Cathedral and the Royal Exchange. An estimated 4/5 of the walled city was gone. Miraculously, the official death toll was very low, just a handful of people. However, many historians believe the true number was much higher, as the poor and missing were often not recorded, and the intense heat would have cremated many victims, leaving no trace. In the wake of the destruction, a wave of paranoia swept through the city. People needed someone to blame. Foreigners, especially the French and the Dutch, with whom England was at war, were targeted. A simple-minded French watchmaker named Robert Hubert falsely confessed to starting the fire and was tragically hanged, even though it was later proven he wasn't even in London when the fire began. But out of the ashes, a new London rose. The rebuilding effort was immense. Led by architects like Sir Christopher Wren, the city was redesigned with wider streets and buildings made of brick and stone instead of wood. Wren himself was responsible for designing the new St. Paul's Cathedral, the magnificent dome structure we know today, as well as over 50 other churches. A monument to the Great Fire was erected near Pudding Lane, a towering column that still stands as a reminder of the catastrophe. The Great Fire of London was a transformative event. It was a disaster of epic proportions, but it also paved the way for the creation of a more modern, safer, and grander city. It's a powerful story of destruction, human error, and incredible resilience. Thanks for watching. If you found this story fascinating, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's most incredible events. See you next time.